my Sony people on the channel can start rejoicing, because this video marks the beginning of the PlayStation block in my collection, starting with, of course, none other than the PlayStation 1. Now, I just want to throw out there that we're going to be able to get through the physical portion of my collection relatively quickly, because I haven't really had my PlayStation all that long, and I haven't really been able to do as much serious shopping for it as I would like to. So like I said, I think this part of the video is going to go by pretty fast. But with that being said, I've saved something for the end of the video that I can talk about more at length and share with you, and maybe rant a little bit to kind of round this video out a little bit. With that being said, though, let's just get into it, of course, starting with the queen of PlayStation, if you will, Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider 2. And Tomb Raider 3. Next, we have a very sun-bleached copy of Simpsons Wrestling. I actually got this from the movie gallery that we had in town before it closed up. And I don't know if this is the case with like every movie gallery or a lot of movie rental places, but a lot of the things that you would find in our movie gallery were sun bleached, like they had been there for ages. And I just remember we were in there for something, and I stumbled upon this, and being both a pretty major fan of The Simpsons and wrestling, it was just something I had to check out and I had to have. And I've loved it ever since. So there's Simpsons Wrestling for you. After that, we have WCW Mayhem. I mentioned in the Xbox 360 video that you were going to start seeing a lot more wrestling stuff, and I just have to tell you that this is probably one of my favorite wrestling games of all time, mainly because it's close to my heart. You know, I can remember as a little fella playing this. You know, my dad had this on his PlayStation, and it was probably one of the wrestling games that I played the most as a kid, right up there with WWF Attitude. Sorry, I got tongue-tied there. But yeah, I hold a very special place in my heart for this game. And when I started collecting for my PlayStation, I just was like, man, good, bad, or otherwise, Mayhem is just something I have to have, just for the pure love and nostalgia that I have for it. So now I have it. There's Mayhem. Now, if you recall way back in our GameCube video, I pulled out the first of this series and said that I had the other ones other places, if I believe myself correctly, if I remember myself correctly, that is. And of course I'm talking about the Resident Evil series. I have the first and the fourth game for the GameCube, and I have 2 and 3 for the PlayStation. And closing out the physical collection for us, last but not least, is Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which I think it goes without saying. If you're going to have a PlayStation, you've got to have this in your collection. I know that when I bought my PlayStation, they also had this in stock, and I was like, man, I can't walk out with one without the other. So I actually got my PlayStation 1 with this copy of Symphony of the Night, and man, let me tell you, that was a good day for me. I was smiling ear to ear. But that's gonna round out my physical side of things. But like I said, I do have one last thing to show you, to talk about and discuss with you before we end the video, and I'm sure some of you probably already know what it is. This is the, see if I can get it to sit here neat and nice for us, the PlayStation Classic. Now, I honestly could say a lot of things about this system. Some good, maybe some bad, I don't really know. And if you're somebody that knows about this system, or maybe has one for themselves, you probably already know what I'm going to say about this thing. So you probably don't even have to watch the rest of this video. And if you are in that group, thanks for watching so far. I'll see you in the next episode. For everybody else that maybe has seen this and been curious about it, maybe you want to get it to have in your collection just to purely relive some of your glory days and the nostalgia of your childhood. To those people, the advice that I would give towards the system is don't buy it. Or let me rephrase that. Don't buy it for the retail price that it is going for. Because this will run you $100. Now, something like this, you know, I'm in the camp of something like this being worth $100 if done correctly. Having a miniature system with a bunch of games preloaded on it from my childhood that I can play anytime I want, you know, on a miniature version of my childhood console, might be worth $100. And in the case of the NES and SNES classics, and, well, for that matter, the Sega Genesis one, I'm sure, it might be worth $100. This one fell short for a couple reasons. Mainly because this comes with everything, but probably the most important piece, which is, of course, a wall charger. Now, it's not really the end of the world, because everybody should have one. I think it uses an iPhone charger or something like that. A smartphone charger. So the majority of us should be able to have one around the house. I unfortunately do not, so I had to pay extra to get the one that they were selling, which, like I said, you know, really isn't that big of a deal, but it's the fact of you're charging me $100 and you couldn't have just thrown in that wall adapter, and instead I have to spend another, what is it, $25 or $30 on it. aside from the $100 that I'm already spending. But that's not my biggest complaint. The biggest complaint that I have against this system is the games themselves. Now, when you think PlayStation Classic, you're probably thinking, as you should, about some of the games that really defined the system. You know, some of the games that when you think PlayStation, you automatically think of. Like what? Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, maybe, Medieval, maybe, Parappa the Rappa. I don't know. I guess it depends on whatever games that you like. It's a matter of taste, I suppose. But the issue with this thing is it comes with 20 classic games that really aren't that good. With that being said, I will admit that there are a couple here that were okay. There are a couple that I was personally excited to have. Final Fantasy VII being one of them. Tekken 3 being another one. And Twisted Metal was the other one that I was really interested in, primarily because I have yet to have them in my physical collection. And that's something that I think I've talked about before. Something that I really enjoy about these systems is they provide you with a lot of good games. And in my case, if I don't have them physically in my collection yet, I have them here. But with that being said, let's just take a look at the games that it offers. And you'll see that this list is really missing some gems that deserve to be on the system. So, first off, we have Battle Arena Toshinden. If you know the game and know how to properly pronounce it, I'm sorry. After that, we have Cool Borders 2 and Destruction Derby. Final Fantasy VII. The original Grand Theft Auto. Intelligent Cube. Jumping Flash. Metal Gear Solid. Mr. Driller. Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. Rayman. Resident Evil Director's Cut. Persona Revelations. Or Revelations Persona, if you prefer. R4 Ridge Racer Type 4. Siphon Filter. Sorry about the thumb there. Tekken 3. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. Twisted Metal. And Wild Arms. So in reading that, I have to admit, like I said, there were a couple that I was excited for to play. And maybe there's a lot of people out there that might look at the back of that box and see the 20 games that come with it, and maybe you're excited. Maybe those games mean something to you, but to me, alongside, besides the 3 or 4 games that I was actually excited about, it really seemed like something was missing. And for those PlayStation fans that haven't seen the games that come on here, haven't seen the back of the box, I'm sure as I was going through that list, you made the mental connection that something's missing. Where is Crash? Where is Spyro? Where is this? Where is that? And I know a couple. I've read so many comments that was like there's a lot of problems with licensing and stuff like that, and from a technological standpoint, some games may not have been 100% possible, and I get it. I understand that. But it really seems to me like this was nothing but a cash grab. Sony looked at the success of the classic editions for Nintendo and was like, hey, people are nostalgic for PlayStation. We can do this and we can compete. And in theory, they're right. I'm not going to say that people aren't nostalgic for the original PlayStation, because we are. But it's obvious that they didn't do it right. It was just kind of rushed. It was kind of lazy. And it's like they jumped in and capitalized on the fab that Nintendo had created without realizing what it was that actually makes Nintendo's classic editions so special. And it really, when you turn it on and you're playing these games, it really feels like a cash grab. Like you can tell that not a whole lot of thought, not a whole lot of love went into making this. It was just for the sake of having it be a thing to compete with everything else in this collectible arena, if you will. And I just don't get it, And I hate to say that it was a waste or a dumb idea, because it's not. Like I said, I fully agree with the idea that people are nostalgic for the original PlayStation. But, another thing that I saw in the comments and the reactions to this is, for every 1 or 2 comments that were like, heck yes, I'm buying one, there was 25 to 30 comments saying, why do we need this? Why are you just copying Nintendo? Why is this a thing when all you have to do is give us backwards compatibility? Just follow Xbox. Just give us backwards compatibility. Let us play whatever the heck we want on the hardware we already have. And, I got to agree. Aside from the obvious of it being a cash grab, aside from it just being Sony's attempt to cash in on like I said, a trend that was set by Nintendo, really have to wonder why this is a thing. And something I forgot to mention earlier is that, aside from the games that I wanted to play, I tried every game on the system, and I noticed that a lot of the games, I won't say all of them, but I know that the vast majority of them were running significantly slower than they should have been. And upon watching reviews and other videos, I've learned that pretty much every game on the system is the PAL version of the game, which means it's just going to run slower. And, when you're playing, I don't know, I noticed it really bad with Tekken 3. When you have fighters that feel like they're fighting in slow motion, or, slower than they should be anyway, it makes a difference. I don't understand why they needed to do that. Not only that, but as you can see from the box, they included the original design for the controller, which means no analog sticks. And this decision makes quite a few games a little bit more difficult to play. Aside from them just not looking very good and aging well, some of them are downright impossible to play without analog sticks. I wasn't a very big fan of the original concept for the controller anyway. And it's just weird. The decisions that were made going into it were very odd to me. Like I said, I don't think a lot of actual thought as far as what we would want, as far as what we would need in order to enjoy it and call upon that nostalgic factor. I don't think we as fans were a part of this decision. I think it was all about money. I think it was all about greed. I don't know. I don't think it was made for the right intention. And like I said, I think that's something that Sony just either didn't understand or misinterpreted from the Nintendo camp. And, at the end of the day, we have 20 games, where only 3 or 4 of them, in my personal opinion, matter, for $100. Don't necessarily know if it was worth it, sure, but I'll admit, I jumped on this. I pre-ordered it knowing that I was taking a chance, knowing the information that I did. I just wanted it for collective purposes so that I can say I have all the classic editions. And if you're someone like me that wants it for that purpose, then, more power to you. I can't say very much. But if you're wanting this to actually play it and enjoy it, I don't know if you will. I was hoping that I would enjoy it a little bit more than a lot more than I did. And maybe, until I get Final Fantasy VII or something that I actually want to play, maybe I will use this. But with the maybe an hour or two that I spent with it, going through each game and getting a feel for them, I just walked away disappointed. And it really sucks because I so wanted to enjoy it. But with that being said, I think that's the end of my rant. As always, guys, please do everything you can to support me. Either, subscribe to the channel, like and follow everything on Facebook, or buy a book for yourself or someone that you know. And the bottom line is, if you want to support me but you don't have the funds, something that's totally free and totally easy to do is just support me. Just be there. Be there. Subscribe to the channel, like I said. Like and follow everything on Facebook, our Instagram, and just tell people that we exist on the internet, that our community is a thing, because we need to grow and one of the most powerful tools that we have for that is, of course, word of mouth. So just take a couple minutes out of your day, tell somebody about what I'm doing, and just spread the good word. All right? Until next time, guys, we'll see you later.